On November 9, 1989, 2 million East Germans streamed across the Berlin Wall, transforming a symbol of oppression into a relic of history. The world watched in awe as the impossible became reality, and a city long divided was suddenly united in a wave of hope and disbelief. For 28 years, the wall had divided Berlin, separating families and ideologies with concrete, barbed wire and guard towers. It was more than just a physical barrier. It was a daily reminder of the pain and loss endured by those on both sides. Over 140 people died trying to cross it, desperate for freedom just out of reach. Each attempt was a story of courage, and each life lost a tragedy that echoed through generations. The wall wasn't just a barrier, it was the front line of the Cold War. Communism versus capitalism, totalitarianism versus democracy. It stood as a stark symbol of the ideological struggle that defined an era and shaped the destinies of millions. But on that night there was no treaty, no military victory, just ordinary people armed with hope, overwhelming the border. Their courage and determination spoke louder than any government decree. World leaders watched in disbelief as the impossible unfolded live on television. The world held its breath, witnessing history in real time as the old order began to crumble before their eyes. The images are unforgettable, people dancing atop the wall, families reunited, strangers celebrating together. Tears of joy and relief flowed freely as the city erupted in spontaneous celebration. The wall's fall was a turning point, signaling the end of the Cold War and the power of people to change history. It was a moment when hope triumphed over fear and the world saw what unity could achieve. It proved that even the most entrenched divisions can crumble in the face of collective courage. The wall, once thought unbreakable, was reduced to rubble by the hands and hearts of ordinary citizens. The story of that night is a testament to how quickly the unimaginable can become reality. In a matter of hours, decades of fear and separation gave way to hope and possibility. It's not just about a wall, it's about the people who dared to cross it and reshape Europe. Their bravery inspired a movement that would ripple across the continent, changing the course of history. The world changed in a single night, not by force, but by the will of the people. Their determination and unity sent a message that echoed far beyond Berlin. The Berlin Wall's collapse was a victory for hope over fear. It was a moment when the impossible became possible, and the world was reminded of the strength found in unity. It was a celebration of freedom, unity, and the human spirit. The echoes of that night still inspire those who dream of a better, more open world. And it all began with a flood of people who simply walked through a door that had always been closed, forever changing the course of history with every step they took. The Berlin Wall was more than a border. It was a scar across a city and a continent. Before 1961, Berliners moved freely between East and West, but a mass exodus threatened the East German regime. Overnight, the wall went up, streets torn apart, families separated, neighborhoods split in two. Apartment windows were bricked up, parks and cemeteries divided, and escape became nearly impossible. The wall became the most potent symbol of the Iron Curtain, dividing democracy from communism. Berlin was the front line of a global standoff, where superpowers stared each other down. For those living in its shadow, the wall was a daily reminder of lost freedom. It wasn't just about keeping people in, it was about keeping Western ideas out. The East German government fortified it relentlessly, creating a death strip of fences, watchtowers, and traps. Designed to be permanent, the wall declared that division was here to stay, but history would prove otherwise. Life beside the wall was surreal and suffocating. The imposing concrete barrier cut through the heart of Berlin, dividing not just a city, but families, friends, and entire communities. Every day, Berliners awoke to the stark reminder that their world was split in two, with freedom just out of reach for many. In the West, the wall became a canvas for graffiti and a tourist attraction. Artists from around the world left their mark, turning it into a symbol of defiance and hope. Visitors flocked to see the wall, curious about the reality of a divided city. In the East, however, it was the edge of the world, a grim boundary lined with barbed wire and watchtowers, where the city seemed to end abruptly in silence and fear. The Stasi's surveillance was everywhere. Neighbors spied, friends informed, and fear ruled daily life. People learned to guard their words, never knowing who might be listening or watching from behind closed doors. Yet resistance persisted. Daring escapes over, under, and even through the wall became legendary. Some leaped from windows, others tunneled beneath, risking everything for a chance at freedom, and a few soared over in homemade balloons, their courage inspiring those left behind and capturing the world's imagination. For every successful escape, many ended in tragedy. Guards had orders to shoot, and the wall claimed countless lives. The risk was immense, but so was the yearning for freedom. West Berlin thrived as a beacon of freedom. Its streets buzzed with life, music, and color, a stark contrast to the grayness beyond the wall. East Berlin remained gray, controlled, and isolated, its people living under the constant shadow of suspicion and restriction. Families waved across the divide, holding signs and shouting messages, refusing to let concrete sever their bonds. The wall could separate bodies, but not hearts. The wall forced Berliners to adapt to a divided existence, always aware of the unreachable other side, longing for reunification and a return to normal life. These daily realities fueled a longing for unity and freedom that never faded. Protests, vigils, and quiet acts of defiance kept hope alive. The wall shaped two cities, but it couldn't erase the human desire for connection. Even in the darkest times, Berliners found ways to reach out to one another. In the end, it was this longing and resilience that would help bring the wall down, reuniting a city and inspiring the world. Sometimes history turns on a simple mistake, a moment so small, yet so powerful, it can change the fate of nations. The Berlin Wall's fall began not with a grand speech or a planned revolution, but with a confused press conference that no one expected to matter. On November 9, 1989, East German official Günter Schabowski, unclear on new travel rules, told reporters the border was open immediately. He hadn't meant to announce it that way, but the words were out. The news spread instantly. West German TV announced, "The wall is open." Within minutes the world was watching. East Berliners, stunned and disbelieving, gathered at checkpoints demanding passage to the west. Many had waited their whole lives for this chance. Border guards, bewildered and without orders, faced swelling crowds. No one knew what to do next. Tension mounted. A single gunshot could have sparked disaster. The world held its breath. At Bornholmerstrasse, Officer Harold Jaeger made a fateful choice. He opened the gates, letting the first wave of East Berliners cross. Instead of violence, there was celebration. Strangers embraced, tears flowed, and the city erupted in joy. The wall fell not by decree but by the will of the people, and a moment of confusion that no one could have predicted. A slip of the tongue unleashed a flood of freedom, and the world would never be the same. The world watched in awe as Berliners crossed a boundary that had defined their lives for decades, finally tasting freedom. The wall's collapse was as sudden as it was peaceful, a testament to the power of hope and unity. It was a moment of courage, relief, and pure joy, one that would echo through history. Sometimes, history's greatest changes begin with a single unexpected word, reminding us that even the smallest moments can shape the world. When the first gate opened, Berlin erupted in euphoria. East Germans poured into the West, greeted by cheers, hugs, and tears from strangers and family alike. The city became a carnival of freedom. Champagne flowed, people sang, and the celebration lasted for days. For many, the West was a revelation: bright lights, full stores, and a sense of possibility. West Berliners welcomed their neighbors, sharing food, money, and joy. Soon, the wall itself became the target. People climbed atop it, danced, and began chipping away at the concrete. Wallpeckers took home pieces as souvenirs of liberation. Dismantling the wall was both symbolic and deeply personal, a reclaiming of city and future. The world watched live as Berliners tore down the symbol of their division. The images of that night became icons of hope and unity. It was the end of a nightmare and the start of a new chapter. The wall's fall was more than politics. It was the triumph of human connection. Freedom, once unimaginable, was suddenly real. The fall of the Berlin Wall set off a chain reaction across Eastern Europe. Months of unrest had already shaken the region. Solidarity in Poland, border openings in Hungary. But Berlin's breakthrough was the tipping point. Images of the wall's collapse inspired peaceful revolutions from Prague to Sofia. In Czechoslovakia, the Velvet Revolution ended communist rule. In Romania, a violent uprising toppled a dictator. The Warsaw Pact crumbled, and the Soviet Union's grip weakened. Mikhail Gorbachev's reforms signaled Moscow wouldn't intervene. The wall's breach exposed the fragility of the entire Soviet system. The people's will proved stronger than the state's power. The map of Europe was redrawn in a matter of months. The wall's fall made German reunification inevitable, but not easy. For 40 years Germany had been split. Now, unity was both a dream and a diplomatic challenge. Chancellor Helmut Kohl moved quickly, proposing a 10-point plan and reassuring wary neighbors and superpowers. The 2+4 agreement brought together East and West Germany with the four Allied powers, paving the way for unity. Germany pledged peace, recognized borders, and limited its military to calm fears. On October 3, 1990, Germany was officially reunified. The celebration was immense, but the real work had just begun. Decades of division left economic and social scars, especially in the East. Integrating two societies was a massive undertaking. The wall in the mind would take years to dismantle, but the foundation for a new united Germany was set. Decades later, the Berlin Wall remains a powerful symbol of freedom, but also of division. In a world where new walls rise, both physical and digital, Berlin's story is more relevant than ever. The wall's fall reminds us that barriers are signs of fear, not strength. Change wasn't orchestrated by elites, it was driven by ordinary people demanding their rights. The wall's remnants, like the East Side Gallery, now celebrate creativity and resilience. Millions visit these sites, reflecting on the fragility of freedom. The wall's legacy urges us to confront the divisions in our own societies. We may not have concrete barriers, but polarization persists. The story of Berlin challenges us. What walls do we need to tear down today, and do we have the courage to do it? The Berlin Wall's story is one of human resilience and the universal desire for freedom. Its sudden collapse proved that no regime is too powerful to withstand the will of the people. The events of November 1989 were a victory for hope, unity, and humanity. The wall's fall led to German reunification, the liberation of Eastern Europe, and the end of the Cold War. For a moment the world seemed full of possibility. But the wall's legacy is also a warning. Freedom is never guaranteed. New divisions and old fears can always return. The struggle for unity and democracy is ongoing. The wall's fall teaches us that change is possible, but must be defended. As we face new challenges, the memory of Berlin's joyous crowds reminds us walls can always be torn down. Even in darkness, the human spirit can break through and bring light.